And we're live. Hey everyone, welcome to the info session about the Firehose Project. I'm Marco, I'm one of the co-mentors at the Firehose Project, and I'll run you through the info session. So let's first jump in, like, what are we gonna cover today, right? It's like, what's the overview going to be like? So first of all, I think I wanna run you guys through our core curriculum, talk a little bit about the technologies that you guys are gonna learn while going through our program, what kind of applications you can expect to build. Then I want to go a little bit into the support system, right? What are mentorship sessions? How are they working? What's the forum? What are office hours? How are we supporting you going through all this? I also want to talk a little bit about the differences in the paths that we have. There's people in our program who are entrepreneurial, who want to build their own startup. What are they going to experience? And there's people who want to land a job as a web developer or a technical role in a startup. How are these guys going through our program? And then at the very end, I want to answer that question. It's like, what can I actually do from the Firehose project? Like, what are the technical skills that I have? So this pretty much the outline. Right below me, you see a little box where you can type in questions. I go through those questions at the very end of the info session, answer all of them. Some of you are super awesome. You guys have already submitted some questions via email. So I'm going to go through those questions as well and try to answer all of them. So let's jump in. Core curriculum. How does this start, right? So first of all, you're going to start your first week. You have an onboarding session. We explain how everything works. We install a professional web development environment on your machine. And then we want you to actually build something and ship it live within the first 10 hours. That's important because you should get in the habit of building products and putting them live on the internet and asking for user feedback and seeing what people are thinking about, right? And the goal always is that our stuff, our web applications, they look good on mobile, they look good on tablets, they look good on desktops, right? So the goal is, you're at a party, you're gonna pull out your phone, and you say, last week, your friends should say nothing else but like, oh, wow, you built this? That's awesome. That's the goal we're shooting for in every application that we're building with our students. So the first one is a simple advice generating application. It's nothing special. Users can put something in a form and it pulls it out randomly off the database and displays it on the screen. We wrap this all up into a mobile-first design, make it look pretty, and then we're good to go. But what does that do is actually give you a 360 degrees view of all the technologies that you're going to use. So for example, right, you're going to learn how to write your first lines of Ruby code or additional lines of Ruby code. You're going to learn the Rails framework. You learn how to ship something live on the internet, how to use GitHub, how to ship things live onto our Heroku server. You learn how to deal with databases, Postgres database, and that's the first 10 hours, right? Then we ramp you up. Next application. We want you to build a Yelp clone. So I think the most exciting feature on a Yelp clone is the Google Map API that we're integrating with, right? So a user can come and create a place. So that sells milkshakes, because I love milkshakes, so ice cream. Let's go with milkshakes. Sells milkshakes, right? I have a place and I want to create that place so people can actually, you know, comment on it and find it and leave reviews and all that stuff. So I go there, I type in the address of my place, the name, and then we need to write that code to grab that address, translate it into longitude and latitude coordinates, and pass those coordinates back into the Google Map API, so in the end we get the pin on the map. That's one of the core features, right? And obviously this wouldn't be a really cool application if that's the only thing that it could do. Obviously, we need to learn how to do user authentication, so that's users sign up, log in, log out, registration, those kind of things. We obviously also want star ratings, right? So people can actually rate our application and leave some comments on it. Then wouldn't it be nice if we also build a feature that if one of you guys has a milkshake at my awesome milkshake house, rates that place, I get an automated email notification saying, hey, it's somebody rating on your last banana milkshake, and I'm like, thumbs up, that's awesome. But I can see that, right? And we also build a little dashboard that has some standard analytics like average rating, number of comments, an overview of all the different milkshake houses that I have on there for everyone who actually is on the platform. So user dashboard, so that's really popular to have that feature. So all of these features wrap into our Yelp clone. It usually takes our students about, between, let's say, 2 and 4 weeks to complete. So now we're at week 4. We already built 2 web applications, right? So next one, we ramp it up again. We always want to keep the learning curve steep, and we build an online learning platform. Like, think about something like Udemy or Skillshare. That's what we're building. So again, the most important feature that we're building there It's pretty technical. That's actually how we're going to manage different user roles and how we're going to build that. So if you're thinking about it, if we're building a platform, that entails having two sides, two different users, and there needs to be some kind of transaction. So let's think about that from an online learning platform, right? So there's instructors who sign up as instructors, and they're going to create video lessons. So it could be my video lessons on how to code, right? 5 or 10 videos telling you how to build a splash page in HTML, something like that. Now, I want to sell that, right? So we're thinking about back of our head, well, selling that. There's probably credit card information involved as well. We get to that. But now I'm an instructor, I have my course, and now there's students, they can preview the course, but if they purchase the course, they can view that the entire course and go through it, right? Now you have multiple instructors and multiple students. And now on a database level, we need to write the code to keep track on which student purchased which course and which students can only see preview from which instructor. And then we also need to integrate with a payment API. We're using Stripe, so you actually can accept credit card payments right on your online education platform. And putting this all together is really powerful because of how to interact with different user roles, instructors on one side, users or students on the other side, is what powers a lot of web application, and it allows us to build a really advanced web application right then and there. Obviously, we also have more features like, as I said, the registration feature, right? We also have a bit of JavaScript and Ajax that we're teaching you there in jQuery, right? We teach you that at the moment that you need it. At the moment is when we actually realize, hey, you know, for an instructor, it'd be really nice if they could resort their courses, that they build the individual sections, the individual lessons, just by dragging and dropping, right? And we built that feature from scratch using JavaScript, because at that point, it really makes sense to improve the user experience and actually bring in a new element of us learning JavaScript. So those are the 3 web applications that we're shipping during the first, I'd say, maybe 8 weeks. A lot of students go through faster. Now, while we're going through these web applications, we also gonna want you to write a lot of Ruby code to solve coding challenges, right? That's anything from building algorithms to list sorting to do advanced coding challenges that prepare people, especially who seek a new job and want to switch careers, for the technical interview. And then at the very end, this starts coming together. We're building web applications one side, we're writing a lot of Ruby code, and then we can put the two together, and then we can build really powerful web applications that can actually do a lot. I'll talk about a few examples in a moment. But what happens afterwards, right? As I mentioned, there is like, you know, we're splitting people up depending on if they want to launch their own application or they want to look for a job, find a job as a web developer. Let's talk about the job seekers first. So if you come to the Firehouse Project with the goal, I want to land a job afterwards, we're running through the curriculum. We focus a lot on writing a lot of Ruby code and writing algorithms and database structures, while also building the web applications that we want to launch after every. And then we're going to put you on a group project where you need to build a real-world web application together with a team of students and a mentor. So the reason we do this is because in the real world, the best software is built by teams in a collaborative fashion, collaborative coding, right? That's the key word. And so if you're thinking about it from a hiring manager perspective, they're looking for people who can have an impact on day one on their job without knowing how to code as a team, which is completely different than coding by yourself or coding with a mentor, right? Multiple people. There's so much involved. Not only do you need to do tools, you need to know how to use the tools for teams to work together, but you also need to know how to communicate, how to not block each other, right? And that's crucial to land a job, knowing those skills. And hiring managers will actually look for that, and they see that in your GitHub code, right? There's like, hey, here's the code that I wrote. Somebody criticized it. Here's how I improved it. Here's how I helped somebody else improve their code by writing those comments. That's all public on your GitHub profile. So seeing that is really, really good if you're looking for a job. For a hiring manager, once you look for a job, because you can prove that you have those skills right then and there, right? And so examples with our teams build at the very end, it's like, right now they're building a chess game, right? So people say, oh, a chess game, that's nothing exciting. But I challenge you to write the code, you know, inside of a web application to move all the figures, keep track on which field they are, together with a team, and then figure out which figure is allowed to kick out which figure and then keep track on that on a database level is really, really challenging. And that's what impresses people who are actually hiring for web developer positions, because it's so challenging. And that's exactly why we make you do that at the very end in the last 4 weeks on a group project. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to build your own application, right, you probably don't care about being prepared for the technical interview process or building a chess app. You want to build your own application, right? So the last 4 weeks, you can apply all the knowledge you learned in the first 2/3 of the program application, right? We usually start wireframing it all out. Some entrepreneurs already have wireframes, right? These are wireframes I refer to. Every single screen of your application should be drawn out already. Then we take those and break it down into individual coding steps to build out your application feature by feature by feature, coding step by coding step by coding step, until we launch your application. So there's multiple people who went through, right? For example, Steven built an on-demand medicine delivery app, so you can actually see the driver come to you on a map, and you just walk outside your step, grab your outside the door, grab your little bag, payments already handled. That's what he's working on, right? Other people have like ideas for a better way of schools interacting with their students, right? Or on-demand delivery of goods and services that works better than a postal service currently. Those are ideas and projects that our students are working on right now. So that's pretty much the core curriculum. Now, let's talk a little bit about the support network, right? Let's talk a little bit about what are we giving you while you're going through that, right? And usually people always ask me about, hey, what about the mentors, right? But I want to start at the forum, because I think that's really important. So the Q&A forum, Thursday night, you're sitting at home, you're coding, you're just building the payment integration for your online learning platform, right? You're going through, you're having some troubles. Something doesn't work. So you're trying to go through the solution steps that we taught you on helping yourself, but you can't quite figure it out. So you're stuck. Now you can take your error message, post it into our forum, and then usually we get back to you within several hours and say like, hey, here's a solution, and then you're unstuck and you can move forward. Why is that so important? It's because once you meet with your mentor, and we meet with our mentor weekly, you actually free of these error messages like, hey, you missed a comma on line 15. Hey, you missed a comma here. And you had a typo on line 37, right? Your web application is error-free and working. You got that covered. Now I'm teaching you additional skills. So if you're an entrepreneur, we can build an additional feature that you'll later need for your own application. Or we can, if you're a job seeker, we can prepare more for the interview or write a complicated algorithm together. We basically pair programming where I, as a mentor, work together with you and we code in parallel and share our screens so we can actually build a new feature. We can learn about test-driven development. That's also one of our core modules that we have all of our students go through. And then we can accelerate your knowledge, right? You're gonna arrive at a mentorship at one level, and you're gonna leave after that hour with us, and you're like, oh wow, that was a lot. There's a lot to prepare for every single mentorship sessions in terms of coding challenges that you need to complete, steps on your web application that you need to have finished, and then in a mentorship session, we can really take advantage and fix the holes in your knowledge, but then also accelerate your learning one step higher. And that's how you're going to be going further and further and further until you're ready to launch your own web application. So then we also have office hours. I personally love office hours. That's the time when all of our students come together once a week, and we're in a Google Hangout type conversation. And then what's happening is really interesting. It's like, if you just started the Firehose project, you're gonna see students who are like in week 6 or 8 or 10, right? Maybe some of the group project, they ask questions. And you might be a bit confused by their code, and you're like, I can't write that kind of code yet. But you see, hey, this is the path. This is where it's going. This is what people ask me. It's really interesting to see that. At the same time, if you're like already in week 10 or 11, and you have somebody who's in week 1 or 2 and asks a question, right? A lot of times students are volunteering and say like, oh, let me take that question. I had exactly the same problem when I was in week 2. I'll answer that quickly, right? And that's another way of learning. Not only do you get to know your other students that way, you also get to help somebody, and that kind of learning, that teaching back moment is really, really valuable, right? Obviously, while you're in a group project, you get to know your teammates really well, because there's group project check-ins, and there's like stand-ups for the group project that students tend to organize themselves. So that's all part of it. You get to know your group project really, really well. Okay, we covered core curriculum, the path for the entrepreneurs, the path for the job seekers, right? The support system that we have, how mentorship sessions, the forum, and the office hours work together, and also that there's more more meetings once you're on a group project, right? Now, I really like to answer that question of like, what can I do after I graduate, right? So we're teaching you like the Ruby programming language really well, the Rails framework really well, JavaScript we throw on top of it, right? And the database and SQL queries and test-driven development and how to write algorithms. That's a lot of stuff. But what it boils down to is if you have an idea that you're thinking about building after you graduate from the Firehose project, you can go take a weekend, take a few days, code that idea up and ship it live and have people use it and get user feedback to improve upon it, right? That's what it boils down to be able to produce and create something digitally. And yeah, of course you're gonna land the job. Of course you're gonna launch your own startup idea, right? But that's what it boils down to. You're able to produce products that are real world, that are working, that people love. So that's pretty much it. Now, I've got a whole bunch of questions and I have about like 10, 15 minutes time. I'm happy to go over and answer all your questions. So I'm gonna check if I have any questions. I know I have a few in the email already, and then I just jump through and start answering them. All right, guys, by the way, I'm 2 minutes ahead of you. That's just how this Google Hangouts thing works. So you should start putting in your questions, either send me an email or right below me in the box. Ask them now before, they might come in a few minutes later. So let's go through. Okay, here we go. Great question. How many hours do I have to dedicate? That's a great question. Okay, let's start with that one. So basically, we ask our students to dedicate about a minimum, I say, of 50 per week of dedicated coding time to the program. But usually, like people who look for careers, right, students put all the way up to 50 hours plus per week into the program, especially if you're looking for a job. I usually say, hey, trying to aim for 20 to 25 hours per week. That's kind of the minimum that I want you to, when you're looking to switch careers. For the entrepreneurs, we don't need to worry about the technical interview process. We don't need to worry about algorithms that much. We just want to figure out how to get your application launched that much. So yeah, with the 15 to 20 hours per week range, you're well off. But again, you can put in as much time as you want per week because the challenges will scale up easily. So that's really up to you. I'd say 15 minimum, but usually trying to be in the 20 to 25. And lots of students are doing it full time, and it works perfectly for them as well. All right, what else we got? Let's see. Oh, application process. Great, that's a great question. Application process. So the way we're doing it is there's this info session where I tell you how the program works. Afterwards, I usually want to see some coding samples from you, right? So I want to know, have you actually coded before, right? And do you have a minimum understanding or minimum coding level? That's really important because at the end of the day, you don't want to apply for medical school to become a doctor before you actually know that you love this, that you can handle, not love, can handle the sight of blood. Because once you work in a hospital, you're going to see lots of that, right? Same goes with coding. I want you to know that you enjoy writing code before trying to make that your profession. You're going to do that every single day. So make sure you write some code beforehand. And I want to see that code sample during the application process. So definitely send me your coding samples via email, send me links to your GitHub, right? It's the first thing. That not only helps me see that you've already written some code, but it also helps us determine which level are you coming in, and it helps us figuring out who's the best mentor together with your goal that you want to reach, right? Being launch your own application, being to land a job, right? And oftentimes, if you don't have coding experience, we have pre-work for you that we give our students, right? That's critical before you go into any boot camps, ours, online, other online ones, in-person ones, right? Prepare yourself. It will accelerate your learning that much more. So if you need pre-work, email me. You guys all have my emails. I'm happy to send you guys some stuff out, a few challenges that you guys can go through. What else we got? There's some more coming in. How are the materials presented? And then, is it original content? That's a good one. Materials are presented in multiple ways, right? So first of all, a lot of the materials are written documentation, right? So written guides. And there's also some videos, right? Now, let's talk about why it's important to have written documentation, not only videos, right? First of all, the written documentation is exactly how it is in the real world, right? If you want to pull a piece of source code into your application, or you want to pull somebody else's code or use that, or want to integrate with an API, you need to read documentation. There's no videos for how to do that, right? So the sooner you get familiar with how to actually use documentations that other developers wrote, the better. Obviously, our guides are a lot higher quality than some of the documentation out there, right? But it gets you into the habit of reading and then coding, and that's important. You can't always watch videos and then code, right? The other thing is, the guides, they're going to be your knowledge base. So when you're out building a group project, when you're out launching your own application, you're oftentimes going to come back and refer to them, and you go like, how do I integrate my mailer? How do I make the automated email notifications work? And you can find that lesson in a second, quickly scroll down, like, that's a line of code that I need. Ah, gotcha. And then you implement it on your code. If we had videos, you'll be going back and forth for forever looking for that, and it'd be frustrating. So real world, and it's a lot faster. Now, we do have some videos that come in, right? Videos we usually use to explain the bigger concepts, right? How does model view architecture, model view controller architecture work, right? What about routes? What about databases? So there's videos that we give to you at the moment that you need them to understand how all the individual pieces of the web application fit together. Definitely. Okay, what else we got? Let me check that out. I got a few more. How are we different from other coding bootcamps? Okay, first of all, on our website, right, theFirehoseProject.com, at the very top, there's an online coding bootcamp. That is a complete marketing-free, here's how you should structure your research process, and here's how you should ask questions when going through an application process or when talking to some representative of any coding bootcamp. Ideally, you want to talk to somebody who's technical, actually knows their stuff, because they can give you the real answers, right? If I wouldn't know how to code and build stuff, it'd be really hard to like evaluate like your coding level skills and give you feedback. So if you talk to a salesperson, marketing person, like you probably want to cut through that and go straight to somebody who actually can code, because that person can give you real answers. That's part of our coding bootcamp. So there's really good questions and a strategy in there. Read that. Now, how are we different? I think most of it comes down to the depth of our curriculum. Like, I don't see any other place that teaches you how to write algorithms. I don't see another place you build such advanced web applications that we do in our core curriculum, right? Also don't have group projects for online coding bootcamps. Like, that's really important. That's what you need on day one of the jobs. Our students who get jobs tell us that consistently, right? I just talked to a student who, from Germany, and he got a job at an international, on a global energy information system company, and he's like, I'm working on a team here. Like, these skills that I learned in the group project, I use every single day from day one. It is really important stuff. So thanks for teaching them to me, right? And that's why we're doing it. That's why people are getting jobs, because they know how to build software as a team. It's crucial. All right, what else do we have? Let's see, I got a few more emails there. One sec. Okay, so another question, is the curriculum original content or curated from other web sources? No, our curriculum is all original content. Now, there might be times when we tell you like, hey, look, you don't quite know how to solve that Ruby challenge quite yet, so why don't you go through these 5 exercises on an external source? But like, even if we give you everything, it's like over 90% is our own materials that we develop and consistently improve. We make updates to our curriculum every single week, right? So it's always like top-notch and really, really good. Have any of our previous students successfully launched their startup? That's a tough question, right? Have they raised $20 million? Probably not, right? Have they built web applications where they get user feedback? Hell yeah, and that's what matters. Your startup isn't really ever launched. Like, it doesn't, like, you build the first MVP and you get user feedback and you start iterating. Do they know how to do this? Yeah, that's what we're training them to do. So don't think about it in absolute terms. It is launched, now it's successful, right? It's an iterative process to build the first MVP, go through, get user feedback, improve your product, get user feedback, improve your product. That's how the most successful startups operate, and that's what makes them successful, right? So happy to talk about that more. That's a we can talk about for a few hours, but it's a good question. Already talked about time commitment. So yeah, Vikram, I think I answered all your questions. Let's see what else I have. All right, here's another one from Richard. Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit late because of your commute. All good, don't worry about it. Let's see what else we have. Here's a few more. Few questions from Drew. I'm a student and time is usually scarce. Are lessons at specific times? No, it's pretty flexible, right? You can code whenever you want to. You going to run through our curriculum, right? That's a self-paced. If you get stuck, use the forum, right? The only thing that's fixed is the office hours. It's every Wednesday in the middle of the week. Your mentorship sessions are scheduled flexible, right? These are your one-on-one mentorship sessions with your personal coding mentor. Like, if you write a code in the morning, we have them in the morning. If you write a code in the evening, we have them in the evening, right? So that's flexible between you and your mentor to figure that out. Hey, when's the best time that I'm working? Generally speaking, having them consistently on the same day at the same time every week works best, because you need to prepare for the mentorship sessions. You need to finish your code and you need to push it up to GitHub and be ready for that so we can accelerate your learning during that time. How many mentorship sessions do we have? We give you 1 hour per week as mentorship sessions. Now, we used to have it broken up, multiple mentorship sessions per week, but that wasn't that good. Like, the hour is a perfect time of like us digging into a problem and writing a lot of code till we actually get you to a good place to continue on your own, right? Breaking it up half hours doesn't really work. Then we're just troubleshooting and doing the comma, missing here, semicolon, adding there, which is not really helpful. That doesn't accelerate learning. That's just troubleshooting, right? We can do that with the forum, right? So you get a mentorship session one hour a week, and you usually spend 2 to 3 days, full days, preparing for that mentorship session to be ready. So go on to the next level. In the first few sessions, we'll tell you which application to buy download. Of course. So we work together with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students, right? We worked at students at Harvard Business School, at Brown University. We did in-person workshops, right? We flew around the country. We even did workshops for little kids in Hawaii. And we installed the software development, the web development environment on hundreds and hundreds of machines. So what we actually did is we built a custom software, a custom installer that actually runs through and installs all the applications and software for you. There's nothing to buy. It's all free. It's open source. So don't worry about that. It should take you probably like 40 minutes, 60 minutes the first day of the Firehose project. And then you have everything installed and you're ready to go, right? If you were to do this by yourself without an installer, plan on doing 4 hours, maybe 4 days, depends if you have error messages. It's pretty hard installing a web development environment. It's a huge hurdle to get over, but I think we brought it down to pretty much a science. So it should be good on that. Cool, good questions, Drew. Let's go, Diana. Yeah, what separates our bootcamp from some other people like Block and T-Leaf? I tried to ask for help from T-Leaf regarding pre-work, and they said it's up to me to figure it out. For example, downloading GitHub and GitX. Come on, will you help me with pre-work, right? Yeah, of course. Like, we're going to help you with the pre-work. Just email me. I'll give you challenges, right? One will teach you HTML and CSS. The other one will teach you how to set up a quick web development environment. That's just through an online browser kind of environment, not the full thing, but we set that up for you, and then we want you to write some Ruby script and go through some exercises and actually solve some challenges, right? That helps you figure out, do you like it? And us seeing like, hey, how fast are you actually learning? How quick are you progressing through? So yeah, definitely let me know if you want the pre-work, and I'll send you like several weeks worth of work, and you can do like maybe 2 weeks, right? And you can do that. And we have multiple students right now who going through our pre-work right now, and they're submitting the code to us. This is all free, right? This is for you guys to figure out like, hey, do I like this, right? Do I like coding? Do I want to make this my career? Do I really want to commit all that time to launch my own web application? And usually people are excited and coming back, and it makes us really happy, right? So yeah, Diana, let me know. I'll send you, shoot me another email. I'll send you the pre-work so you can get started on that. What separates us from Block and T-Leaf? I already said that, right? And I think you mentioned that too in your email. It's like really go a lot deeper in the curriculum, the algorithms, right? The application that we're building are a lot more complex and complicated than the real world. Like, these people are using this, right? So I'll give you an example. Our Yelp clone, right? That's something on a map. Like, what can you do with this? So one of our students, Pete, he is really into horse racing. So horse race tracks, right? He's on a horse race track every single weekend. And it's perfect, because you know what? These horse race tracks, and I know nothing about that, all across the US, they're not on a map. This is just a long address list, and you have to figure it out. So he immediately took that list, imported it into his horse racing app, and now people can actually find the horse races that are nearest to them a lot better. And then he didn't stop there. He actually started now making this in a full-fledged analytics platform where people can download like sheets of the best betting likelihood on a horse every single weekend, depending on which weather it is. Like, the horse won before. It's crazy stuff. I don't bet on horses, so I don't know a lot about it, but he's super excited, and all his friends are using it, right? And so these are the things that that our students are building and launching. It's just exciting to see that, how they accelerate. And then I don't see that from a lot of the competitors that early on, when we're like in week 4 and people are launching that, right? That's usually what happens at the very end for their curriculum, when our students are actually learning how to work in a group project. So I think that those are the major 2 things: the depth of the curriculum again, and the group project. But I think I'm like repeating myself here, so I'll move on and see if we have anything else. I think I've got a few here in the group. Give me a second. I'm just pulling them up. Okay, what else do we have? So remember, guys, put them into the box. If we have anything, if you have anything, I'm about 2 minutes ahead of you guys. So I'm seeing if we got any questions here. Here's a cool from Aishaya Singh. I hope I got this right. Okay, are there any differences in the content or technologies or languages that you guys teach compared to the other online coding boot camps, such as Block or the other ones? Yes, some. So let's step back, right? What kind of technologies are we actually teaching? So we're doing Ruby, the programming language, Rails, the framework, right? We're going to teach you how to write algorithms and really good Ruby code, right? That's important that you have a foundation in that. Then we teach you how to use the web development framework, Rails. Ruby on Rails, those 2 go together. We teach you obviously HTML and CSS, because you need to make things good, right? It needs to look flashy and sexy and good, and it needs to look good in mobile and tablet and all that. So you learn all that front-end design too, right? This is a full stack program. Then you're also going to deal with JavaScript and jQuery and Ajax, so we don't have to refresh the page. This is for the drag and drop interface. So you're also going to learn that. Then obviously you get really good at SQL. We run you through some challenges on that. That's to communicate with your database, right? You don't want to be the developer, right? Especially on a job, you can't pull a query out of the database and figure out some basic numbers on user stats. So you need to learn that too, right? Then you learn Git, the version control, and GitHub, how to back up your code and collaborate online, especially during your group project. So I think I already answered how we're different, right? It's the group project, you just don't get that. And then the advanced GitHub, the code collaboration, and then actually going and learning how to write really good Ruby code. You just don't get that. It's just like building simple web applications, but you're not going to get hired for those. You get hired for writing really good Ruby code. Like, as I said, a team building a chess app, that's killer. Like, that's really hard, right? That's like, for one of our students over in LA, right? He was in an interview, and they asked him, during the interview, they said, how would you build a chess game, right? And he's like, oh, funny you asked. I just like worked on it yesterday with my team. Let me open my computer, right? And he started showing them which code he wrote, what he committed, what other people asked, where he helped people, where he got criticized, right? Now think about how that changes the interview process, right? That guy's gonna get an offer from that company. They'd be silly not to have that guy on his team, right? So that's what we're looking for. That's what we're aiming for. So let's see, Drew, I just saw your messages in the, I think I already, Ishaya, what happens if I put in more hours and finish the program earlier? Is that possible? I'm thinking you finish the program early. It's like, yeah, you can, I mean, how many hours a week can you code? So some of our students put in 70 hours a week, right? perfect, go for it, man. Like, we're going to give you more challenges to write better Ruby code to build another web application, right? We're going to go really deep into test-driven development, like deeper than we would normally go. I have you build another web application where you write your tests first, like true test-driven development, and then build the features, right? You can also, what we have, sometimes students who are really fast. So we have one student in London, he was already developing professionally for 14 years with different languages, right? Now, you know, you who just maybe has like half a year of background coding, comparing yourself to somebody with 14 years of professional web development, and you're in the same program, there's probably going to be some differences, right? But it worked for him too. He's still in the program. He's now in his second group project, right? This one he leads, and it's really valuable for him to actually now have students who are not as experienced and needs to like manage them a little bit and help them out a little bit, because that's just how it works in the real world, right? Not everyone is at the same level, but we all need to ship that product. So it's like, finish the program early. I don't think that ever happened. So if you're the first one, I high five you, right? I'll send you a present to your doorstep too, and we'd be super stoked if you could pull that off. But usually that's not what's going to happen. You're going to be on a group project and you're going to build that. It's really complicated stuff, but definitely put in as many hours as you can, because that's what we want to see, and that's going to get you further. It really helps you out. All right, let's see. You guys are awesome. I love all these questions. What else do we have? Here's another one. Okay, Joshua, I'm sorry. You know, if you have an iPhone, Google iPhone doesn't like to play with Google Hangouts. So I'll email you the link that's recorded. So thumbs up for you for trying. It is definitely recorded. You can watch that later. What else do we have? I think that's pretty much it. I don't see any more questions. Guys, if you're good, if you have any other questions, right, you guys all have my email. Feel free to reach out. Anything about if you want pre-work, if you already have coding samples, send me those. Doesn't matter what it is, just want to look at it, get a first feeling, we can have the conversation started. And then usually I like to jump on a Google Hangout just like this with everyone, and you know, have a one-on-one conversation, figure out your coding goals, and then we make a decision if you'd be a good fit for the Firehose project. That's usually how we roll. Guys, this was awesome. Thanks so much for joining. Stay awesome, and yeah, have a happy holidays and all that stuff. Take it easy.